Hello, everyone. My name is Nicole Fevrin, and welcome to our webinar. Today's webinar, we're going to discuss virtual tracking and route manager. And we're hoping that this is familiar to most of you, but in case, we are just going to go through this webinar and explain some of the nuances of it. Okay. Wanted to introduce you to the speakers for today's webinar. We're going to have Charlie Bacola, who is our software support specialist. Many of you, if you have anything to do with GPS, you're probably very familiar with him. We have Yasser Bar, who is our onboarding / customer success specialist. You may have spoken with him when you first joined the Route Manager software, and he may have been the person who did your training. Finally, there's me, Nicole Fevrin. I'm the product marketing manager for Route Manager and GPS. So we're really excited to speak with you today. Wanted to go through our agenda as well and let you know some of the topics that we're going to be discussing. So we're going to start it off, before we get into the meat and potatoes of the webinar, we're going to go into a poll question. We're curious to find out your thoughts on tracking. And so we're going to launch that after I go through the agenda. We're going to discuss the differences between virtual and physical tracking. And that is kind of related to the poll questions that we're going to ask. We want to see what you identify as the differences between the two. We're also going to talk about the basic requirements of virtual tracking, live ETA, troubleshooting for virtual tracking and navigation. We're going to talk about the GPS tracking app. And then we're also going to talk about some updates that we're planning for Route Manager. As always, we're going to conclude with questions. Any questions that you have for us, you can enter it in the questions pane, and we'll be happy to get to it. Whatever we're not able to touch on, we'll follow up with you at the conclusion of the webinar. So as I mentioned, we have a couple of poll questions we want to ask. Casey, if you can launch the poll. Okay. So the first question, and we would love for you guys to participate in this, but we want to know, what do you think as far as the difference between virtual and GPS tracking? So do you think you know the difference between the two? If you can go into the poll question and answer yes or no, we'd really appreciate it. All right, we're seeing a lot of people answer. Very surprised. Personally, I don't know about you, Yasser and Charlie, but
I thought it was going to be like 50-50 too, yeah.
Yeah, me too. Wow. So the majority of you do not think you know the difference between virtual and GPS tracking, which makes us feel very happy that we're having this type of webinar, because that's exactly what we're here to do, to discuss
Absolutely.
the differences. Okay, so we've got another question, and then we're going to go into the webinar. Okay, what is the most important feature of virtual tracking to you? So we've got a couple of options: virtualization on the map of vehicle location, breadcrumbs of where the vehicle has been, and then a combination of both on map in the scheduler. So go ahead, guys, and take a moment to answer this as best you can. Whoa. Okay. I love these poll questions. I don't know about you, Yasser and Charlie, but I love these. It's so fun, and it's so interactive to see what everyone's
Yeah.
I thought everyone was going to pick C, but it's good to see that this is worth asking instead of just everyone picking C. Other people picking other choices.
All right. Yeah, so the majority of you, it is a combination of both. You want to see both on the map and the scheduler. But then we have some that the visualization on the map is the most important. But yeah, this is very interesting. Thanks for participating in that poll. So without any further ado, Charlie is going to go into the virtual tracking and kind of explain to answer those questions that you guys had, right? What are the main differences between virtual tracking and then GPS tracking? So Charlie, go ahead and take it away.
Hey everybody, as we all learned, my name is Charlie Bacola. I am a software support specialist for Route Manager and GPS. So what I want to do is I want to go over a couple of things with you guys. You know, as we asked, do you know the difference between virtual and physical tracking? So a lot of you guys said no, and that's totally okay. It can be a little bit confusing because, you know, we use a lot of very similar terminology. So virtual tracking is the Route Manager 360 package. That is when you're tracking your drivers via the Route Manager mobile app. So you don't have a physical GPS device. You're tracking that person via their location services on their cell phone, as long as they're logged into the app. The physical tracking versus or what we call Route Manager 360 Plus is we actually provide you a device that will track your vehicle wherever it is. So you get more constant tracking, not dependent on your driver's cell phone. It's always there. So a couple of differences between the two, and these are just common things, you know, that we show. So we have live tracking. Both of these options do live tracking, so you'll be able to see where your driver is at all times while they're out on the map. So you'll see them on the map. Historical tracking as well. You can go back, view the breadcrumb trails of your drivers. Now, the physical tracking offers a few more options. One of those things is maintenance alerts. So you can track mileage more accurately on a physical GPS device. These devices, in some cases, will be able to pull mileage directly from your odometer. In some cases, it will create a calculation of mileage, which is about 99% accurate to the odometer. Whereas virtual tracking, again, it's all dependent on how often that cell phone is pinging, how that driver's cell phone is receiving signal. There's a lot of variables there. So that's why we offer the mileage and maintenance on the physical device, because it's less variable. You have constant tracking with the physical devices on Route Manager 360 Plus. So constant tracking means that after hours, these devices will still report hourly. This way, God forbid if anything, that the car moves after hours or anything like that, your device will allow you to see that. Whereas with virtual tracking, it's only while your driver is logged into that app. And we also offer driver behavior. You can get information on speed, acceleration, cornering, braking, and we have a whole scoring system for this driver behavior. So you have all of this available to you with the physical tracking on the Route Manager 360 Plus. We can head to the next slide. So virtual tracking, as I said, there are a couple of requirements for virtual tracking. So with the Route Manager 360 virtual tracking, there's a couple of things you need to have in place in order to be able to track your drivers, and we'll go over that. So a driver with a username and password must be created and assigned to a vehicle in Route Manager. Your driver must also have a virtual tracking device ID assigned to them, and that's, when you're creating your driver, you have that option to assign that. Your vehicle and driver must have a dispatched route assigned, so you can't just track your driver, if there's no route assigned to that person because it's their private cell phone in most cases. The driver needs to stay logged into the mobile app on their device. And location services must be turned on in the smart device's general settings. So it has to be set to always and not to only while using the app. This way, if the device screen blacks out or anything like that, you're still able to track where the driver is while they're on that route, even if that app isn't front and center. And then the driver must use data. So the driver can't be on Wi-Fi as they're on the move. There's no guarantee they're going to have Wi-Fi everywhere they go. So they have to be on their, some type of data plan. And we're going to go, and all of these requirements, we're going to show some of that to you when we get over to Yasser's demonstration of some of this stuff as well. So, if it feels like I'm rushing through, we actually are going to circle back to some of this stuff here. So, don't worry. As I said, Route Manager 360 is the virtual tracking option. So Route Manager 360 offers you event tracking. So proof of deliveries and checking in and out on the app into your order. So a little bit more accurate. You can track where they are throughout the day, just even by the orders. And it also allows you that virtual tracking. So you can track drivers via the Route Manager app and gives you that historical breadcrumb view. Excuse me. Route Manager 360 Plus gives you event tracking, which is that proof of deliveries and checking in and out. But it also gives you the physical GPS tracking, which, as we said, is physical device tracks all the time. You have your historical breadcrumbs. You have your detailed reporting as far as mileage, stops, events, and then down to driver behavior. So that's the difference between your physical and your virtual tracking. And we'll get into questions in a little bit as well with that. Now, a couple of people, or a couple of our customers have given us some feedback as far as like navigation through the Route Manager app. So some drivers, will tend to run into some common issues when they're trying to use their native navigation app with their with the Route Manager app. So this is a little bit of common troubleshooting. So the first thing is the routing coordinates versus rooftop coordinates. So when you're in the Route Manager app and you go into your navigation apps settings, this is where you actually choose what your default navigation app is going to be. But right above those options, there's an option to navigate to rooftop coordinates. We generally suggest that be turned on. So the rooftop coordinates will pass the address as listed in the interface. So it'll give a little bit more of an accurate reading to, Google Maps or whether it's Waze or whatever other navigation application that you're using. So it's a kind of a translator, to give a little bit more accurate readings. The other thing that we also say is, if you're having an issue getting to an order, try different navigation apps. Sometimes some areas have a better mapping with certain places. So, if Google Maps may be great in your area, but maybe not. Maybe Apple Maps is better. Maybe Waze is better. So test out a few different navigation apps as well. One thing that we always tell people to try, because I'd say 90% of the time it's a matter of, the application that the driver's using in the first place. And we can head over to the next one there. And the other thing that we say to do is to check the address in Route Manager. So the other thing is sometimes after you've tried all of those things with your navigation, maybe the address still isn't working. The next thing you want to do is check that address in Route Manager. So you want to hover over the address with your cursor on Route Manager's order grid and display the normalized address. For example, if the address is 123 Main Street, Madison, Wisconsin, but when you hover over the address, it only displays Madison, Wisconsin, then that would need to be edited to find some street address that was not found. So that may need to be reported to us. Maybe we need to tell our map provider, hey, 123 Main Street isn't listed on this street, and we need to get that added, and we can get that done for you. The other thing that you can do is add the address check column into your order grid. So you can edit the columns in your order grid, and you can actually add the address check in there. and this will actually give you at a glance, let you know if the address is bad, or if it's, you know, if it's sort of inaccurate, or if route manager is detecting some inaccuracy on it. It'll allow you to see that right there. Sorry about that, guys. My dog is, you know, we are still working remote, so I apologize for the background part.
He's just trying to join the webinar, you know?
Like, he wanted to contribute
You want
to
to
the
know what?
webinar.
It's like he knew
Wanted to
my
be a
part was
presenter.
over. It's like he knew my part was over, because I'm going to go ahead and mute while Yasser gives you a little demo on some of the stuff we just dealt with.
Perfect.
I
All
love
right.
it.
So let's back out of here for a second, and let's head on over to actually Charlie's environment. So what we've got in here is just our regular play and all that. We're going to cover in this demo just what are your virtual tracking requirements? Like, how do we set that up and make sure that we're going to be able to virtually track our driver? Right off the bat, we can see right next to the vehicle's name, there's no driver assigned. So we know that's just step one. Before I create my driver, though, I'm going to make sure on my vehicle that I have tracking by mobile app, which is, of course, a default setting. We're not working with a physical device that's being installed on our OBD port, none of that. So it's just by mobile app by default, and that's going to allow us to create a driver. And once you create that driver, I have one right here, you're going to want to make sure to enable tracking, to hit this option right here. I don't have that because I only have simulated devices, and I don't have any actual virtual tracking device IDs. But after you create your driver, you're going to want to hit track, and it assigns a random 5-digit virtual tracking device ID. Once you have that, you save your driver, and you make sure that your driver gets assigned to your vehicle or your route. So where it says not dispatched, let's put Charlie in there, update, and by the time we back out to the main map, we could see that we have Charlie as the driver, and of course, Charlie has virtual tracking enabled, Charlie's vehicle has by mobile app, and we build the route, and then we dispatch the route. That's usually how it would work, and those are the requirements right there. You stay logged in, you have location services activated all the time, you'll be good to go to track your driver, and then of course, you go to Style All, and you'd be able to pull up your devices like this. Once again, I have simulated devices, so that's why I was not able to assign a device ID to my driver. So let's get to the next point in this demo, which is address checking. So in your import process, a lot of people feel like that's the point, that's like the point of no return, the only place that I can correct my addresses. But you could always correct them. And Charlie said the first thing you want to do is edit columns in your order grid and add the address check column. So we put it next to address. What we're going to do next is we're going to hit the column header so we can sort everything in ascending or descending order. And then we pop all of the questionable addresses to the top. Best thing you can do, not freak out, just hover over the address to the left of the warning. You're going to be able to see, hey, this is actually correct, and you could even click on it and confirm physically because the highlight's here. But if you really want to go into the editing, double click if you need to change something and hit edit. Before you confirm that it was a bad address on the mobile app, maybe it was a bad address in here and it wasn't just geocoded properly or wasn't recognized, all the way. So here I can just, once again, move my control panel out of the way there. I can switch to satellite view and I could zoom in on the bullseye. And if I'm really familiar with my surroundings, I could be like, you know what? That's where it's at. That's the lot it's at. And I could even drag and drop this pin to change the location if I wanted to. But I'm going to show you the other way to check. So instead of confirming physically on the map, why don't we use the menu? We're going to click in here. And what I like to do is get to the end of the address and I hit the spacebar to ask it to search again. Then I pick the match and it corrects it. It says your zip code from your data, from your Excel file, or from creating this order manually or whatever, had 35 at the end. But this one that we found has 50, and that's why the address was in question. So sometimes it's a very little thing like the zip code's off by like a digit or two, and that's what it's looking to adjust for you to confirm whatever it may be. So besides address check, within the interface, we are going to go up here and we're going to check out a new update within the settings panel. It's a mobile app update. Up here, we have reasons for order. what reasons for order means is you get to create a library within your driver's mobile app that shows when they mark status as completed or not completed. When they mark it as not completed, they have options that you create here that they get to select from. So when you add a reason in here, instead of just saying not completed, maybe you're just going to say like gate was locked or gate locked. So you add that in here, you save it, and it's going to become as part of their library of existing reasons for not completed within the mobile app. You could keep adding multiple reasons to keep building the library of not completed reasons within their mobile app when they hit that status. And you could even move these to a different territory. So if you're one of those users that has multiple territories, like I manage a territory in, on the East Coast, one on the West Coast, one on the Central, then what you can do is when we go back to the setting, the reason for orders can be copied to a different territory if you want to overwrite someone else's mobile app not completed status reasons. I'm sure we're going to get some questions on that. And if we want to take a look, we also have a Support Center article that's really helpful on that as well, if you want to take a look at a more of an in-depth explanation for what this feature is really for and what it looks like in the mobile app, since we're not able to demonstrate that here. Besides that, we're going to go back to the presentation. And that's the end of our demo. So the next thing we wanted to talk about was the GPS track app. Looking at it first, download the app. You're gonna get onto your App Store or your Play Store and look for WorkWave GPS. You can download it, and you're gonna be using your login credential that you access WorkWave Route Manager GPS with anyway. So you're using that same credential. You're not using like the driver mobile app credential for Route Manager, but you're using your admin credential to log into the site I was just showing you the demo in, which we all use, of course. So only the only the admin will have access to track on the go, and that's the real benefit of this app, of course. So some capabilities that you can do within the Route Manager admin site, the web version of it, you can also do within the mobile version. Track your vehicles in real time, see their historical breadcrumbs, see where they are currently, and ranked by different like statuses, whether I want to track the ones that are in transit or inactive. You get to pick those buckets and kind of like filter out which devices you want to display. So you have that option as well while you're tracking on the go. And also while using the app, you can look up your saved places, which of course we know within Route Manager are your saved landmarks that pop up on the map as a star. And then of course, dispatch your closest driver to them. All right.
Okay, and just one last note on the GPS track app. This is a different app than the Route Manager mobile app. So these are two separate apps. Route Manager mobile app is what your driver is going to be using to be interacting with orders. The WorkWave GPS track app is going to be what you're going to be using to on the go track where your drivers are. Sometimes there's a little bit of confusion there, so I just wanted to make sure I said that.
No, thank you, Charlie. Perfect. Exactly. It's a different credential. All right. So let's take a look now at our next poll question. I think Casey's going to be firing that off. And of course, same question as before. Just seeing if we change your mind now.
Yes, this was by design. We wanted to see, at the beginning of the webinar, if you had a sense, and now at the end of it, we want to ask that very same question. Do you know, I guess it should be, the difference between virtual and GPS tracking? And did you know that before the webinar? So if you guys can take a moment to answer that and just let us know if after having heard, Yasser and Charlie speak, do you have a clear understanding now of the fundamental differences between GPS and virtual tracking? So if you can go ahead and answer that, we'd appreciate it.
Yes, 50-50. Oh, good. The yeses are beating the noes. Looking good.
Yay. Halfway there. All right, good. So now we see that there are more people who have learned the difference between the two. Maybe, you know, at a later date, we can kind of do a different spin on this webinar and kind of talk more to this, since there is still a bit of, you know, a distinction that needs to be made. All right,
Yeah,
good.
I agree.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Excellent.
So upcoming features, beta testing. It's not like we need guinea pigs, but we kind of do. If anyone is interested in testing out, you know, future features, things that are in the pipeline to be released as an updated feature in the future, you know, we're kind of looking for, and always, you know, we're looking for our power users, the people that, you know, are warriors, you know, the people that sing, you know, Route Manager on the mountaintops. So really looking for beta testers on those new features. You can inquire about it through any of the avenues we have listed here. And then, of course, support will pass that on to our product team, and then they'll reach out to you, of course, for the help, you know, knowing that you're a power user, someone that's familiar with Route Manager, someone that's excited about future updates, help and give us feedback on future releases before they go into production. Anything would be greatly appreciated.
Absolutely. All right,
All right.
good.
And
So
now, yeah, everybody's favorite time. You put in any questions you have for anything that we discussed so far in the questions pane, and we'll take a look at them.
So I already see a question, and it's actually a good question, something I didn't fully mention. Question is, if we already have the physical GPS devices, do we have access to driver behavior, or is that an additional feature? Now, yes, that is an additional feature to the GPS, but only the physical GPS devices have access to that feature. So if you wanted that feature and you had virtual tracking, let's say, you would need to upgrade to the GPS devices. If you already have the GPS devices, you would just need to talk to your account manager, and they would be able to set you up with driver behavior and get you all the information you're going to need about that.
Same thing, Caroline. If you have the basic version of Route Manager and would like to upgrade to either virtual or physical, definitely you could reach out to your account manager first, or of course reach out to our support team as well. But most likely, just reaching out to your account manager is the best way to handle that and just have that conversation on what's the best for you.
I love it. The questions are pouring in. Everyone is so engaged. This is exciting.
Caroline, and that's going to be an account manager at our company. Danielle, can you dispatch routes in the app or only to save locations? You're going to be able to dispatch routes within the GPS mobile app, the WorkWave GPS mobile app, only to already existing saved places, I believe. So you'd have to create them within the web version of WorkWave GPS, WorkWave Route Manager, and then you'll be able to access them within the app.
I see a question in here. Are you able to keep track of vehicle maintenance? Yes, you are able to keep track of that with the physical GPSs. We have a module for that. If you'd like a little bit more information about that, what I'll do is I'll create a support case and I'll reach out to you with instructions on that, Eliezer. I'll get that out to you today. Okay.
All right, for Adam, do you have to pay to use other map apps on the WorkWave Route Manager app the drivers use? For example, we don't want to use Google apps. We want to use a different. Okay, so Adam, for that, some apps that are compatible with Route Manager, the Route Manager mobile app for turn-by-turn directions, they're free. Google, Apple, Google Apps obviously is the one that was the default one that was assigned to you, and you don't prefer to use that one. So you could download like Apple, you could download like Waze, other people that use that. And then you go to that navigation app setting in the mobile app and assign, Apple or Waze or any other one that is free. Now, some apps, I know if you do like commercial trucking and you need like routing turn by turn for a commercial vehicle, other apps like Cigic or Copilot, you may have to pay for, and they may even provide like a trial period. But I know some apps that are compatible with mobile app are paid, like you mentioned, Adam, but some are free. Hope that answers your question.
And also, I see a question, how do you get the vehicle name on the mobile app? I only have a number on mine. Now, that's a common question. So on the GPS mobile app, when you're tracking your vehicles, it's going to show you the device ID. So the device ID that you have assigned to, each of your drivers. The way to get those to change is to actually sign in as a GPS-only user on the desktop site. And then what you're going to do is change the names of each of those device IDs to your vehicle names. The only thing is if you do change your, change which driver is assigned to which vehicle or which device, that sort of thing, you're going to also have to reflect that change in your GPS only username. Now, that can be a little bit tricky for some people. So if you have further questions on that, what I would say is just click the Ask Support button on your desktop site and put in a support ticket, and we can walk you through that whole process if you need to.
All right, guys. Any other questions as they come in? I think we'll give it another minute. Charlie, any other questions you want to take online before we move on? Anything else that we don't handle online, guys, we're definitely going to circle back with you. You could open a support ticket with us using the Ask Support button, or you can call us online, of course, if you have any other questions. And anything else that we see that needs like an account manager's attention or anything like that, we'll be sure to try and follow up with you as well.
Thank you so much, everyone, for asking these great questions. We really appreciate it. I love when you guys are engaged. It makes us happy. All right, so I'm up to bat again. So what I wanted to just let everyone know is just simple housekeeping items. At the end of this webinar, we always send an email, a post-show email that will include a recording of this webinar, a special offer that we have going on now through the end of the month, as well as some links to some WorkWave resources that we have, a Facebook community page that we have. We also have blogs and insights pages on our website. So all of that, we kind of just wanted to package it up for you in an email so you have it at your fingertips. Okay, so that's pretty much the conclusion of our webinar. We really appreciate your attention. Thanks for joining, and just continue to stay safe. If you need us, reach out, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.